I've selected a photo that I want to use for my project, and it is now downloaded from my phone onto my downloads. The problem is it won't import into Desmos because it's not the correct file. So if you get that error, like I'm getting, I'm uploading my image, and if I try to go and get it here, open, it doesn't support the .heic file. So a free way of doing it, I like this website, is ilovejpeg.com. If you just Google I love JPEG, and then we're going to convert uh, to JPEG. So I can select my image. This is just, there are many tools that you can use to convert. This is just a free online tool that I'm showing you, and we're going to convert to JPEG. Then I can download this, and it should be in my download folders, ready to go into Desmos. So if I now go to Desmos, I make sure that I'm logged in. This is important, otherwise you won't be able to save your work. So I'm going to import now my new image, which is a JPEG. Okay, and once I put it in, it should work. Now, if you click on it and you see this little bar, you can move the image around. I'm going to do a couple of things. So I'm going to adjust my scale. I'm going to adjust my image, not the scale, but I'm going to adjust the image so that it makes sense with the numbers that are here. So it doesn't have to be exactly for the project to scale, but if I'm looking, I'm going to be eventually positioning my foot, so my right foot on the origin, because I want to model this shape here, and I want to use my foot as a reference. So I'm going to say the height of the sign will be the function as a function of the horizontal distance from my right foot. So I want my right foot to be here. It's about, I don't know the exact distance here, but it was about 1.5 meters. So I'm going to shrink down the image, which you can do by clicking, so that the distance from my foot, that image makes sense in terms of meters. Okay, it wouldn't have made sense. It was not 4 meters. So now, again, it doesn't have to be exactly to scale, but now my numbers will make sense. Okay, so it looks like it's pretty small. You can always adjust your zoom, okay, to whatever you need. So now I'm set to go. So the important part here would be make sure you're placing whatever you're going to use in your title, make sure you're placing your reference at the origin. Okay, so I'm going to now put my title. If you have a better way to include a title, please feel free to share. But for now, this is what I've come up with. So let's say I want to start the title over here. So this is the coordinate -1, 2, according to my grid. So I'm going to say -1, 2, and I'm going to say label, and I'm going to say the title of my graph here. So here's my title. It was a little bit longer, so I'm going to move it a little bit to the left. So maybe I'll start it at -1.5, see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks fine. So that's my title. So you can play around with that. If I want to hide the point, actually, I can click on here, it hides it, but then it's moved my title to the left a little bit. So I'm actually going to see what happens. So this, yeah, so I'm going to do it like this. So I have a title. Next, I want to have my labels for the X and Y axis. All right, so I have my labels set up. I can move them around if I want. Don't forget to have your units of measurement. So you can see that I've put meters over here as well as over here. So I have title, y-axis label, x-axis label. If you want to change the color, you can just go to settings and then change it from there to whatever you want. And then, you could do text outline like I did. You can do different weights and so on. So I'm going to leave it red for my purposes, and that's my labels. So what I'm doing now is a little bit of trial and error to get a function. I'm not yet there, but just to show you how I started by saying this kind of looks like the log function. So I chose this, and then that's the one I visualized originally with the reflection on the y-axis. Okay, so you always want to do your vertical stretches, horizontal stretches, and reflections first. So I want this green line to kind of model this height here. So I'm going to need to, I think I need to vertical stretch it a little bit. Again, this is a little bit of trial and error. So you want it to look like the same shape. So I'm going to leave it like this. I might adjust it. I think it looked better with it too. We'll see. And then we're going to now move it. So I'm going to move it to the left by saying maybe plus 1, whoops, minus 1, sorry, minus 1, point something. So you play around, just trial and error. So I'm going to do a horizontal translation and a vertical translation. So I was having a hard time getting that vertical stretch or compression. So I've actually moved the picture back just for now to get the correct shape first. So in order to get that correct shape, I'm playing around with this number here. So 0.9, 0.95. I'm looking at the difference until I find that perfect shape. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. I know that it can touch exactly. So now I'm going to move back my picture to where it should have been. And from there, I just need to do a horizontal translation and a vertical translation. So keep those for last would be the easiest. Another thing you can do is instead of just plugging in numbers, if you want to kind of just add a cursor, you can add cursors in this way and then play around with these vertical. Sorry, this one would be horizontal. And if we're using, I mean, you can use, I usually use A, K, D, and C, but the letters don't really matter. But let me just use these. So I can play around with the D and the C. So the D will move my graph to the right, and then the C will move my graph up. I know that I can get that perfect shape because I've done it. So now it's just a matter of getting that correct translation. So just play around. And then once you're happy with the shape, you can just write it back into the equation. And now I have my the equation of my function. I think my keyboard is in French right now, which is why it's showing a comma, but should be like this is 0.2. So the last thing for the graph is to adjust the domain. So you can do that by just typing this in. You can also adjust the thickness of the line if you want. Okay, so that's it. Once you're done and happy with everything, just make sure you're saving it. I'm going to call this log graph, and then you save it. And then when you're ready to share it to your website, you can click here, share, and then you want to make sure you do get the iframe from here. So I'll do that in the next video.